Thank you.
Always.
It's exciting to be here. We're here with all of our families. All of our families are here.
And we're having a debate. Did you spend yesterday getting ready for Christmas, or did you roll out of bed, eat leftovers, maybe do some shopping online or in person? Because I think it's still Thanksgiving This is a great song, by the way. This is a Thanksgiving hangover as opposed to jumping ready to go.
Well, if the Duffys had been back in Wisconsin, which we normally are, on this Saturday, we do go and cut down our tree. Now, we don't decorate it until Advent starts, but we actually cut down the tree and put it up on the Saturday of Thanksgiving.
I just have two things to say to both of you. Merry Christmas. Is it too early? Friends at FoxNews.com. Merry Christmas.
It's never
guys.
too
Merry
early.
Christmas to everybody out there.
That's exactly right.
We are here. It has arrived.
It has arrived.
There are lights out there.
We are happy for it. It is Christmas. Emails, friends at FoxNews.com. This weekend, are you just chilling with Thanksgiving, or are you ready to go full on Christmas?
Are you just microwaving leftovers all weekend? And most people are.
And also digesting not only leftovers, but the news. The news is still front and center.
That was smooth, Griff. That was awesome.
That's why we have a newsman on the couch.
Well, it's a tough story to digest, and that is the caravan that is gathering on the southern border in Tijuana. The president certainly has made it a priority, but the new development is the mayor of Tijuana that has had some solidarity with the president, saying, I don't want these people here.
Nobody better to talk about it than you, Griff, because you've been in it, you've seen it,
right.
you've interviewed members of this migrant caravan saying we're headed north. And we didn't know where they were going, but they've ultimately coalesced in Tijuana. Almost 5,000 now in that border town.
And you know, Pete, I'm going to go back because this is an important story. Let me quickly just put up what the mayor, Juan Manuel Gastelum of Tijuana, said. Here's a quote from him. He says, we don't have sufficient and necessary infrastructure to adequately attend to these people, to give them a decent space. He also said in a radio interview, I will not spend the money of Tijuana citizens for this cause. And that was the case in every town, in every city, when they came all the way from the Mexican-Guatemala border. These towns trying to deal with it. It's too big. It's a major problem. Mexico's going to have to deal with it.
And Griff, I would bet that, and we've heard this many times before, talk to the mayors of the border towns on our side of the border.
Correct.
They say very similar things, that we don't have the resources to manage this. And so what Donald Trump is saying is, look, if we can't get control of this, we're going to actually shut down the border. Let me put up this tweet. It's a tweet from President Trump. He says, Republicans and Democrats must come together finally with a major border security package, which will include funding for the wall. After 40 years of talk, it is finally time for action. Fix the border for once and for all now. So there's a spending bill. It turns out here it comes up on December 7th. Right? December 7th. They have until December 7th. And right now it does not include funding for the wall. And he's encouraging Senate.
I'm shocked by that. You know Congress better than I just, why have they not figured? Clearly, it must be that they're not in support of the president's agenda.
The House has
established. The House has. I'll give you that.
But you need six Democrats in the Senate. You need 60 votes in the Senate.
Well, there's also reconciliation.
So you need Democrats.
We haven't gotten into it. There's a budget reconciliation process in the Senate that could be used, by the way, which we may talk more about, to push it with 51 votes in the Senate and move it into the House as long as you're doing it following proper procedure.
Yeah.
This could be a throwdown in the lame duck session for Republicans who really care about a wall, who really care about fixing this problem. You watch that migrant caravan. You watch them climbing. We're putting up concertina wire. That's all good. We're giving military members more tools. Doesn't solve the ultimate problem that the wall still isn't there.
And, you know, you said it could be. It is going to be a lame duck session issue because, listen, President Clinton, Bush, Obama, they all tackled comprehensive immigration reform. President Donald Trump, in that tweet saying bipartisan need to do it now, is saying, I want to do it too, but we're going to have a wall. That is,
it's not comprehensive if you don't have a wall. One of the things that Don Rosenberg, whose child was killed by an illegal, he talked about that experience and why it matters in this debate earlier in the program. Listen.
We are a welcoming country, and people should be able to come here. They have to come here legally. They have to be vetted. When you hear people talking about, they commit less crimes than the native-born, A, that's not true, but B, I really don't care because none of the crimes that they've committed should have happened. My son should be alive. The question I would ask is, how many that are there are you willing to accept in the country that are criminals? And the answer should be zero.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the point. Perspective of someone who's seen the manifestation of unfettered illegal immigration. It is a permanent separation for his family.
Right, that was what was so interesting when we interviewed him. The point he made, he said, you know what? Mine is a permanent separation and a permanent empty seat at the Thanksgiving table. It was very, very moving.
Meanwhile, we had an election in 2016 and Donald Trump won, but the other candidate, Hillary Clinton, Senator Hillary Clinton, former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, is sort of weighing in on where she would stand, calling for more amnesty in the U.S., but yet pointing to the European migration crisis.
She had this to say. She said, I think Europe needs to get a handle on migration, because that is what lit the flame. Now, she had other rationales for that later on, so she got a lot of criticism for it. So she tweeted this after saying it. She said, I've always been and remain a staunch advocate of comprehensive immigration reform, in quotes. That's true to our values and treats every person with dignity, provides a pathway to full and equal citizenship, brings millions of hardworking people into the formal economy, fixes the family visa backlog, upholds the rule of law, and protects our borders and national security. When I read that, I read want of what Washington has said forever.
Right.
And when you talk about comprehensive and it doesn't include the law, border security can mean whatever they want it to mean temporarily. Right. But it really means amnesty. It really means a pathway. It really means let's have it our way. So I'm skeptical that any sort of a bipartisan solution that's meaningful and actually enforces our border will happen.
Well, the first quote, by the way, was really Hillary truth-telling. I mean, the elites in Europe said, this is the way we're going to do it. We're going to have an open borders. We're going to invite these people in, even though many people in the Middle East, experts were saying, no, we need to provide a safe zone for them and not have them go all the way to Europe. But the Europeans had them come over, and now there is a lot of political turmoil in Europe. And she rightfully is pointing to these policies as being as she called, the flame that lit this. But this is Hillary Clinton years ago talking about. So let's go back in the way back time machine.
This is Hillary
and look
tough
at this.
on borders. Yeah, listen.
I want to open up the opportunity for immigrants to be able to buy into the exchanges under the Affordable Care Act.
Of the people, the undocumented people living in our country, I do not want to see them deported. I want to see them on a path to citizenship.
We believe that cooperation is better than conflict. Unity is better than division. Bridges are better than walls.
It's interesting, if you listen to that, it's like October 2015, then it's March 2016, then it's June 2016. As she got closer to the election, the talk and really her nuanced position became more pro-open borders than not.
That's where the elites are the exact same. Pick your continent. They all think they know better than us. They all think the nation state is passé. They want those borders open. They don't believe in flag and allegiance and sovereignty to their own country. And guess what? They're not inviting a single illegal into their gated community. Not a single one. These policies don't affect them because they have personal bodyguards. They've got gates in their communities. They've got alarm systems on their homes. And they send their kids to elite private schools where they're not affected by any of this. And that's not to say that immigrants are bad people. It's that when you have an influx of illegals and you're not prepared to manage them, and they're not coming here for the right reasons, some of them, with criminal backgrounds, as we've heard from DHS and others, you create problems for the forgotten men and women of America who are left to deal with these policies that the elites tell them are so good for them.
Well, and you raised an interesting point. I mean, like just walking it out just a bit, at the end of this coming week, you will have a new president sworn in and inaugurated in Mexico. And one of the questions he must be wondering is, as Nancy Pelosi comes into power, what is her plan for immigration? What is her plan on the border? Who knows? We'll find out.
I think it's bridges, not walls.
Bridges, not walls.
Right?
All right. Well, let us know what you think about Hillary and her evolving positions on border security and immigration. Friends at foxnews.com. So that's where you should send those thoughts. And we'll look at them and we'll talk about them later on in the show.
And can you say Merry Christmas?
Yeah, and let us know about that. Is Griff right? Has Christmas season started now?
Listen, Merry Christmas and Happy Thanksgiving.
They're telling me in my ear that so far more people are agreeing with you, Griff.
Well, chime in, America. Friends at foxnews.com. Thanksgiving ham.
All right. So here are your headlines. Black Friday shoppers run for their lives during a shooting inside a New Jersey mall. That is scary.
Sorry.
Get down again, come on! Get down!
A man was shot in the wrist. He is expected to survive. It's unclear what caused the gunfire, police say. The victim is refusing to identify the gunman. No arrests so far have been made. At least 87 people are confirmed dead in the California wildfires. Nearly 500 others are still missing. Much-needed rainfall is hurting the search for the remains, but helping to put out flames. Officials are now warning about the risk of flash flooding and mudslides. The devastating wildfires have torched more than 254,000 acres and destroyed 20,000 structures. House Democrats will be putting columnist Jamal Khashoggi's murder at the top of their list. Incoming House Intelligence Committee Adam Schiff telling the Washington Post in part, quote, "We'll look at what the intelligence community assessments are at any given time. Then it will be quite clear whether the president is relying on the intelligence community and our best source of information, or whether the president is representing something very different."
All right, if I can, Rachel, I'll take it from here.
You got it.
And two golf legends, I watched part of this yesterday, squared off in a one-on-one match for $9 million. Phil Mickelson walked away with the win against Tiger Woods in their made-for-TV match.
Didn't take much time right there.
And there, at long last, it is.
Mickelson knocked in a 5-foot birdie on the fourth playoff hole. They played 22 holes. $600,000 in side bets will go to a charity. Mickelson told Woods he'll never let him live it down. Mickelson said, "You may be the greatest golfer of all time," which he gave him. But he said, "Hey, every time I see you, I'm going to remind you that I beat you in this one-on-one match." Great concept. It was fun TV. It was all behind the scenes. But problem is, a lot of people couldn't log on to pay-per-view, I'm told, because there was so much demand for it.
Wow.
$9 million.
I was not one of them.
You were not?
If it's sports, I'm out.
Listen, I was watching football. I was watching. Yes.
A lot of people were watching football, too. That's what Thanksgiving hangover is for.
I was shopping.
Watching sports and doing nothing. Or shopping. It's true. All right. I'm told we have to move on.
Merkel arguing, quote, "Either you are one of those who believe they can solve everything on their own and only have to think about themselves. That is nationalism in its purest form. This is not patriotism."
Here to react, Fox News national security strategist, former deputy assistant to the president, and author of the book Why We Fight, Dr. Sebastian Gorka. Doctor, thank you very much for being here. Merry Christmas, Happy Thanksgiving, all of the above. She says that nationalism, well, that's not patriotic. What do you say about that?
For the rest of human, I'm just going to get it out there, Pete. For the rest of human history, after the 60 million people killed in World War II, the 6 million Jews who died in the Holocaust, nobody who wears the title Chancellor of Germany should be lecturing anybody about nationalism forever for the rest of history. It was American nationalism that saved the world from the Nazis of the Third Reich and the imperialists of Tojo's Japan. The idea that a German chancellor lectures us now, absolutely outrageous, Pete.
But Dr. Gorka, let me take Merkel's side of this just a little bit, because she dealt with a European migration crisis that really was unprecedented. Do you believe that she is not legitimate in her position in trying to sort of pass along what is happening here that she's already seen?
Just listen to her own words. 2 years ago in her New Year's Eve address, she made an incredibly weird statement. In one sentence, she said, "The greatest threat to my nation is jihadi terrorism." In literally the next sentence, Griff, she said, "But I'm not going to put a limit on the number of refugees we allow into Germany." That cognitive dissonance is why you have the Manchester attack, the Berlin attack, the Nice attack. She has done more as one political individual to undermine the national sovereignty of the nation states of the EU than any other member. And I'll tell you something. In my book, Why We Fight, I have some photographs. One of the ones I included was the moment the president pulled us out of the Paris Climate Accord, because for me, that was a proud moment in my service in the White House, because the president, do you remember this the sentence the president said, Griff? He said, "I was elected by the citizens of Pittsburgh to be their president, not the citizens of Paris." That's healthy nationalism, and that's who Donald Trump is.
Dr. Gorka, I brought that up at the beginning of the show. I frankly, personally, really love that line and thought it really spoke for a lot of Americans who were, I think, frankly, kind of sick and tired of having a globalist president before Donald Trump. But that said, there seems to be a lot of debate now. What is that healthy balance between being patriotic and what the left is saying is an unhealthy nationalism?
Well, that's a great question, Rachel. I think you have to look at what are the concrete consequences of these kinds of initiatives. The Gatestone Institute just published an article that looks at this UN policy, and it says point 3 of the 23 points of this new UN initiative is to make migration a human right. Hang on a second. Does that mean that 7 billion people can move to America? At that point, what?
Well, Michael Moore, as if it's possible, hitting a new low, now calling for the shunning of Trump supporters. Listen.
A third of the country, a quarter of the country, angry, intolerant, hard to reconcile. But what do the rest of us have to do?
You can't build a bridge to a racist or a misogynist. You know, they have to be shunned and treated like we treated smokers 20 years ago.
Should we really be shunning fellow Americans? Well, joining us now to react, editor-in-chief of Campus Reform, Lawrence Jones. Lawrence, welcome.
Thanks for having me. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving to you, too. Now, this is not the first time that Michael Moore has called on anyone who voted for Donald Trump to be called a racist and to be really, as he said, quite, directly shunned.
Well, it's really lazy political commentary. Most people would try to figure out what went wrong, especially after you had a true-term black president that got a lot of these counties to vote for him. A lot of these congressional districts went for Barack Obama.
Sure.
Instead of trying to figure out what happened, what message didn't sell, these guys go to the identity politics. And this is really the stuff that we've been reporting on at the Leadership Institute's Campus Reform on the college campuses, where if you have a MAGA hat, they demonize you. If you support the president, they assault you. These are people that don't want to get into your political ideology and have an actual debate. I have liberal friends, and we have debates over Thanksgiving tables and all that. And they don't call me names and all that. But these people are so lazy. They don't want to get into that. They just would prefer, because it's lazy, to demonize you.
Well, Lawrence, our viewers can't see it, but I see your cufflinks. They're the state flag of Texas.
Oh, Texas.
They're beautiful.
Yeah, thank you.
A lot of people in that state supported President Trump, support maybe affirming, upholding our border. Yet Michael Moore and others on the left, to your point, want to strip down their identity and say, no, you're just racist.
Yeah, because they don't want to discuss the issues. Look, for a long period of time, the identity politics that the left have used, it worked. A lot of people were afraid to do it. And so you see them freaking out right now because the American people are starting to vote for pocketbook issues, securing the border. They want their health care reform, issues that actually affect their day-to-day basis. And so that's why you see a white guy like Michael Moore using identity politics when he really doesn't relate to a lot of the identities that he's supposed to be representing as a filmmaker.
Right. It's a way, using the racism card is a way, you say, to really shut down debate or control the debate.
It totally shuts down the debate. Look, there are some tough issues out there. I mean, I was at the dinner table with my family this weekend. The only issue that they agree with Donald Trump on, you know what it is? Immigration. My grandmother said verbatim, I may not agree with the president on anything, but I'll help him build that wall. That's something that we can find compromise on and discuss. But again, they would probably call her racist.
Well, I'm guessing your grandmother is not a white lady.
No,
right?
she is.
I mean, why can't these issues cross the visual
and of course,
identity
if the president were to hear me say this, he would try to find some way to bring her down and talk about these issues because he's a bridge builder. He's not going to play this out. He finds the issues that you can have compromise with him on, and he discusses those. That's why you got Kanye and a lot of other people that wouldn't traditionally vote for a Republican talking with the president. This president is not an ideologue. He is one that will find compromise. That's why I think we're going to be able to get some stuff done.
What we're seeing, too, is that, for example, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, a product of the campus identity politics culture that you so often talk about, she's now a member of Congress. So we're seeing these campus things really bleed into national politics.
From the Kavanaugh stuff to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Look, we can no longer laugh at these people. We can't laugh at socialism because they're winning now. They're getting some seats. And look, this is not a sprint. It's a marathon. And these people, look at Beto. He came very close in Texas.
Absolutely.
And if we lose Texas, then we're losing liberty, people.
Yeah, the battle is on the campus.
It is on the campus.
I agree with you completely.
Thank you for your fight on the campus.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
It's great to see you. And happy Thanksgiving and Merry Christmas.
Yes, and to you families as well.
Yes. Absolutely. Well done. All right. Well, you know that Nancy Pelosi thinks pretty highly of herself as the leader of the Democratic Party.
Master legislator. I am a strategic, politically astute leader.
Lawrence is a master commentator. I just say that. Well, could there be a never Nancy revival? The Democrats now pushing for someone else to be House Speaker.
And we have an expert here to tell you how to pick and take care of your Christmas tree. Stay with me.
It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas.
I give you the Griswold family Christmas tree.
One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That was awesome. Do you know who that is? Those little kids are Pete's kids, and I'm going to tell you what, that is an amazing little piece of video. My favorite part of the morning.
That's right. That's our shot of the morning. A great shot of the morning because it reaffirms the greatest nation we live in. Pete's kids there standing at attention.
Raisin.
I love that shot here. Little Gwenny.
Little Gwenny kind of wandering around. We'll get her in line at some point.
She gets it. We'll find out what your kids think about Nancy Pelosi.
You're raising.
Looking to take power as I try and shift to this talking point. But, you know, so we know about the 16 Democrats that were opposing Nancy Pelosi as Speaker. But there is a group called the Problem Solvers Coalition Caucus. There they are now, 9 House Democrats that are opposing her because they want to, quote, break the gridlock. They just believe that that she is not willing to get anything done, and they're more centrist.
Is it a real threat to her speakership? Is it a real threat to her being Speaker?
Well, sure it is. I mean, if you look at the numbers, depending on how the final numbers, because there's a few races that may still yet be decided, it looks about 17. She's got to survive a threshold of 17 votes that would be out of the way. But as we saw with Congresswoman Mia Fudge bailing on it and really no one else jumping in the fray, even if she didn't get the votes to support her as Speaker, whether it's this caucus or another one, who's going to step in the void? Where is the leadership? I pointed this out earlier. If you add up the Democrat leadership, right, it's led by Nancy Pelosi, Steny Hoyer, and Congressman Clyburn. They are 78, 79, and 78. No new blood there.
Well, and you see where she's being pulled, where Nancy Pelosi is being pulled, you know, from the far, far left, from the Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, from the socialist wing of the party, to these more moderates. I mean, actually, Daniel Lipinski from Illinois is actually a pro-life Democrat, one of the only ones, I think.
Whoa.
So somebody like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez doesn't want these rule changes because
she doesn't like this.
She doesn't. No, she wants
Problem Solver Caucus, right?
No, she actually tweeted about it. That's right.
She tweeted this. She said, the favorite socialist of Ed Henry, who's not here to defend himself from the Bronx, 9 Democrats are choosing to hold the entire 220-plus caucus hostage if we don't accept their GOP-friendly rules that will hamstring health care efforts from the get-go. People sent us here to get things done, not negotiate with an administration that jails children and guts people, blah, blah, blah. Okay, it's familiar stuff. But she ultimately wants to be able to raise your taxes faster, and she feels like if the rules aren't changed the way she wants them, they can't do that.
But also what these rule changes would do is allow more bipartisanship, saying let's work together, let's get things done. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and the progressive wing of that party.
She wants the rule changes that make raising taxes easier. You're right. So that's why she opposes
but she wants more control for leadership, which is more progressive than these moderates who are saying, let's try and get stuff done for the people.
This group calls this common sense governing. And the point is that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is against common sense governing, against bipartisan manner. It is her way, which appears to be a socialism way, or no way.
That's exactly right. True. All right. Thank you for summing that up perfectly for me, Griff. All right, we're going to head to some headlines. A neighborhood is in ruins after a house bursts into flame. Look at this. A home explodes into a fireball in St. Paul, Minnesota. The homeowner is in critical condition. Neighbors say flames shot as high as 50 feet in the air as the blast blew out windows nearby. Authorities believe it may have been caused by a gas leak. 2 dogs and a cat were also thankfully rescued. Brands, bargains, and brawls. Black Friday fights breaking out across the U.S. as shoppers get their hands on the best deals. Wow, that is not a good look. And look at this. Dozens of shoppers in a mad dash over a marked-down sweatshirt at a Victoria's Secret in Tennessee. The store employee had to jump on the table to get out of the way as she watched in fear. All right, and an op-ed writer isn't grinning about the new Grinch movie. Take a look.
Today, we will do mean things, and we will do them in style.
A New York Post writer says the new flick is just warping kids into weak-minded snowflakes. He writes, quote, "This is a Grinch film, continuing society's destructive habit of protecting kids from potentially useful stories. Watching a repugnant meanie have a change of heart would be a positive message for children." And those are your headlines.
All right, thanks, Rachel. Well, finding the perfect Christmas tree can be tough.
There it is. I give you the Griswold family Christmas tree.
A classic, here to show us how to pick the best tree for your home. Harold DeLucia from NYC Trees. Harold, thanks for being here this morning.
Guys, thanks for having me. This is awesome.
So where do we start? You walk into a lot. What are you looking for?
Oh, you're first asking them when the tree's cut. That's very important because if you see like some of the big wholesalers like Home Depot or Stu Leonard's, they're cutting those trees in October. So you want to ask the guy when the trees were cut. So here at
Will they know? They should know, right?
Yeah, if you see the needles falling off the tree from the beginning, that's a bad sign. Yeah, that's a sign that that tree's probably cut way too early for shipping. And so we typically cut our trees once per week.
Okay. If you get your tree right now, will it last, like, say, through New Year's?
Absolutely. From NYC Trees it will, because we guarantee our trees cut the same week.
So make this simple. You got 3 things that people need to know when they get a tree. What are they?
First things, you want to make sure that it's good foliage all the way around the tree. So the trees, when you look at them, there's no holes in the tree. So that's very important, the foliage of the tree. You want to see the needle retention. If you put your fingers through the tree, is there needles coming off the tree? That's very important. If the needles are coming off the tree straight away, that's a sign that the tree is a little bit old. And you want to make sure that the tree is beautiful, fits your needs. Every single person, every family is different. Some want skinny trees, some wants a wide tree. You really got it's your personal
Should you measure ahead of time? Because you always think like that looks about right for my house. You get home, it takes half your living room.
We actually had a couple yesterday. We brought a 14-foot tree. They had 11-foot ceilings. So then our guys are cutting the tree in the home. So absolutely measure, because some people don't realize the whirl that they put the star on is going to add some height. The stands are going to add a little bit height.
All right, once you speak of stands, once you get it there, how do you keep it alive or living?
Yeah, so what we do, every tree needs to be fresh cut. Before the tree is installed, it needs to be fresh cut to open up the pores. And this way the tree can drink water. Once it's in the stand, it needs to have water in it within 30, 45 minutes. So if you're cutting your tree and you're driving an hour or so, that tree could seal up and not drink any water. So it's very important to give it
like another fresh cut when you get home?
Typically, that's why you hire guys like us. We come to your house, we fresh cut it, we put it into a stand, we bring it into your home, we open it, we do any last minute trimmings, but the tree needs water. It's very
What kind of water, though? Is it warm water, cold water? Does it matter?
Everybody's different. Some people say aspirin, some people say soda. Really, I would say lukewarm water. So warm water is good, but everybody has their own different.
And how much should it be drinking? Like do you water it every day, every week? Is it vodka?
These trees have a mind of their own, really. So depending on the tree, some when they're brought in from the field to indoors, they drink a lot of water. Some of these trees don't drink a lot of water because they're so fresh. So if the tree's really fresh, it will drink when it needs to. So if it doesn't drink straight away, there's no need to be concerned. It's because the tree's really fresh.
We'll take its time. All right.
NYCtrees.com.
Yes.
.com.
Drink
awesome.
when you need to.
Thanks, Harold.
Take care, guys.
Good
Rachel, we're picking out a tree for you. One for each of your kids. One for you, one for Sean. This one.
Charlie Brown.
All right, well, Hollywood now tackling the border crisis as Murphy Brown mocks ICE.